What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 120 of the Endless Endeavor podcast. Man, 120. That has a nice ring to it. Today's episode is a solo cast, and we don't have a lot of bullshit to go over today, which is kind of nice, right? I don't want to get too caught up in Crazy Anderson and yelling fuck and cocksucker the whole time. I think we got some stories to tell, some stuff to go over, some information to put out, and we'll just see where it goes. One thing that's interesting is how people will attack me because I'm trying to be a better person. I always say I'm not your fucking guru. I'm a guy that's on a journey of trying to make myself, my friends, my community a better place. That's my overall mission. I'm trying to walk this path, and do I ever claim that my path is the correct path or that I have it all figured out? No, actually quite the opposite. I'm only 41 years old. I got a lot of life ahead of me, and I got a lot of wisdom to gain as a man. And you'll never hear me say, oh, I got it all figured out and everybody should do what I do and everyone should listen to me, because that's not me. If you're listening to this show, you probably already know how I carry myself, and I don't claim to be anybody's guru. But I find it interesting when I do post things about trying to find happiness, trying to find peace, trying to become more spiritually grounded. Man, people will use that as an opportunity to attack and be like, well, you say fuck this person and fuck that person sometimes, and now you're trying to act like you're all grounded in love. And it's like, yeah, motherfucker, because there are a lot of different aspects of life. And sometimes you do need to try and ground yourself and root yourself in happiness and things that serve you. And then other times you do need to shine a spotlight on motherfuckers that are out there that need to be told to publicly go fuck themselves. That's the reality. And it was a couple weeks ago, and I'll preface it with this. If you talk shit to me on Instagram, I will not talk shit back to you. I have zero interest in getting in some type of text or comments war with some guy that thinks I'm a piece of shit. Very, very simple solution. If the content that I put out annoys you or you think I'm full of shit, just unfollow. I do the same. When I'm scrolling through my feed and I see someone that I follow say something that is either just seems egregious or completely out of alignment with my morals, I just simply unfollow. Do not use social media platforms as a place to go voice discontent or anger, because it doesn't serve anybody. Now, obviously, there's a caveat to that. If you come at someone with a different perspective or a different point of view, and you simply want to have some type of civil discourse, of course, that's a good option. But even if that's the case, I bet that it is very, very rare for somebody to hold a point of view and then be shown something different via the internet and then come to a new conclusion. I think the internet is the place where everybody's heels are dug in and they're basically just flying their flag. So anyways, I read the book, The Urban Monk, which I've talked about on the podcast a handful of times. And one thing that it discussed was where to meditate. And meditation isn't some crazy woo-woo spiritual people thing. It's actually proven by science that meditation helps your brain grow neuroplasticity and increases your ability for making decisions quickly. And meditation is a powerful tool to make yourself more capable, more resilient, and be able to deal with real-time problems as they present themselves. And so this book talked about places to meditate that show to be more beneficial. And one of those places is by a moving body of water. Now, for whatever reason, bodies of water, the sound frequency that they put out is somewhat, it does something to the human brain. And so owning a piece of property on a river, I went out there and I sat next to my river and I meditated for about 10 minutes. And I'm brand new to meditation. So don't ask me, any in-depth questions, because I'm even wondering while I'm doing it, like, is this meditation? Yeah, I think so. Like, it's a fucking new journey for me. So we'll see where it takes me. But one thing that I found out there was becoming consumed in the present is really what meditation is about. You clear your brain of all the things in your past. You don't focus on the things that are in your future, and you try and really become part of the environment in its present tense. And so I made a post about that. And I talked about how when people fixate on the past, that is the root cause of depression. And when people fixate on the future, that is the root cause of anxiety, because you were trying to put too much life energy into parts of existence that have either already came and gone or are not yet here. And, I talked about that a little bit, and leave it to the internet for some guy who obviously listens to the show. So if you listen to the show, fuck you. But, it's bizarre that people listen to the show that don't like me and want to talk shit to me. So anyways, he says, you say, like, get caught up in the present and don't fixate on the past and don't fixate on the future. But on your show, you talk shit about, like, your former agencies and stuff all the time. You're just coming across as really confused. And it's like, listen, again, I don't claim to have it all figured out, first of all. So if you see me doing something that you think could be done better, okay. I'm not averse to that. I think every fucking human being on earth could be doing things better. But when you tell someone, I just think you're really fucking confused, or however you phrased it, now you're coming at someone with negative connotations. You're just being a passive aggressive dick over Instagram. And now there is no conversation to be had, because it's like you're not looking at the message I'm putting out and then coming with something contradictory to benefit either of us. You're just coming at me to be a dick. And so this is what I find interesting. If I say something about my past on a podcast, and then I say, don't fixate on your past in another podcast or another post, those two fucking things are not mutually exclusive. All right. Keyword fixate. And go back on the post, because that's exactly what it said. Fixate. All right. We cannot fixate on the things that are outside of our control. We cannot dwell on the things that we don't have the power to affect change in. But that doesn't mean you don't hold your past and your future in a high regard. Obviously, all the lessons that we've learned and all the things we've went through, both good and bad experiences, have molded us into who we are today. And the lessons of the past are extremely important to move us forward. So never will you hear me say, like, fuck, yesterday don't mean shit. Like, listen, I'm fully aware that the things that have taken place in our life, there's a high level of importance on them, and it helps us think about who we are and then how to move forward accordingly. But I'm saying fixate. Don't fixate on the things that happened that you no longer have the ability to change. And it's the same with the future. All right. Obviously, I'm building a new gym right now, and it's halfway up, and I have a million things to think about. I need to line up electricians. I need to line up plumbers. I need to buy new mats. I need to do this and that and this and that. And I have to put a certain amount of energy into planning to be able to make sure that when that date does arrive, everything runs smoothly and everything becomes operational on a timeline that's going to work for me and my coaches and CrossFit and Jiu Jitsu and everything. So take your, you just always talk about shit and then you send a different fucking message out and you're just really fucking confused. Like, just get out of here with that shit. All right. Basically, the message was, we need to take time to live in the present. And you need to carve time out of your day, and you need to not fixate on those other aspects of life and just become in tune with who you are in the moment. And again, it's a new journey for me and I'm excited about it, but leave it to the internet to come down on someone who's simply saying, I'm trying to figure out how to live in the present. So that's enough on that. No, whatever. Kind of what I wanted to do today. I wanted to go over an overview over what's happened the last couple weeks, and kind of some things that are coming down the pipe and some things to expect from us. And we'll just take it from there. I went to ADCC, which is the Abu Dhabi Combat Club down in Las Vegas when they had the World Championships, was a week or two ago, where Gordon Ryan successfully made history. He defeated Andre Galvao, which I think everybody in the jiu-jitsu world was expecting. And that's not to take anything away from Andre Galvao. He is one of the most legendary figures in the ADCC lineage and had a massive amount of success. But as with everything in the sports world, there's always new and up and coming hungry fighters that just seem to push the envelope and break new boundaries. And that's where Gordon Ryan is at. He is doing things that in the jiu-jitsu world would have seemed impossible 5 years ago. And he is pulled so far ahead of the pack that it seems like he's untouchable right now. And I think it's fucking rad, right? It's cool to see people that break the mold and do things differently. And it's like the perfect matchup because he has John Danaher as his like mad scientist that you can just picture. Like John Danaher is like the Gordon Ryan puppet master. He is developing the master plans and putting it all together in his mind. And Gordon goes out there and puts the work in and actually completes the task. But I think it's a very interesting dynamic and partnership that between coach and athlete that those two have created. And, Gordon Ryan said in interviews when people ask him like, man, what is the key to your success and how have you become such a dominant athlete? And he'll say, hey, it's 2 words, John Danaher. And so to witness that in real time in an auditorium with 12,000 people, man, it was powerful. And it was powerful for lots of different reasons. But I would say that the most powerful aspect of that weekend, in my opinion, was seeing the energy that the sport of jiu-jitsu can bring to an arena. It was palpable in that arena. And, I've been into jiu-jitsu for 20 years now, and I have yet to see that kind of energy brought to a single competition stage. And, I've been to the IBJJF World Championship plenty of times. And don't get me wrong, high energy in there too, especially with the Brazilian culture, like all those different teams chanting and going nuts. And that's a fun experience. But there was something different about ADCC. And, the whole arena would get quiet and then someone would hit like a sweep and the place would erupt. And it made me realize like, man, jiu-jitsu is becoming mainstream. And I say that with good connotations. Like there's nothing wrong with jiu-jitsu becoming a household sport. And I've always said I didn't think that it would, because something like a sweep, that's not super exciting unless you're a jiu-jitsu guy or a jiu-jitsu gal. But when you are a jiu-jitsu person and you realize what type of effort and setup and the depth that it takes to sweep someone at that level, and then you see them implement it and you see them get it. And for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, a sweep is basically you use your guard to go from bottom position to top position. Typically in grappling, the top position is preferred. Not always. There's plenty of guys that have an arsenal of shit off their back, but sweeping someone is rewarded in jiu-jitsu because it is considered advancement in the fight. You were on the bottom, now you're on the top. And man, seeing 12,000 people, like just dead silence, crickets, and then they get the sweep and just, yeah, and the whole place erupts. It was cool to see, but it made me realize something, is that arena wasn't filled with fans that want to eat pizza and drink beer, get drunk, and scream at the top of their lungs. And that's the case when you go to UFC events. And I'm not taking anything away from the UFC. I love the UFC. I'm fascinated by, like same thing. Khamzat Chimaev, He is the Gordon Ryan of MMA right now. Just burst on the scene and is on a different level. And it's fascinating to watch. But the fans overall, who fills seats in the UFC, is very often not athletes, not martial artists, dudes that just want to get drunk and watch people beat each other up. And again, if that's you, you do you. I'm not saying anything negative about that, but what I'm saying is the crowd that's attracted to a jiu-jitsu competition is usually filled with martial artists. And so there wasn't that drunk, punch him in the face, like you hear at the UFC all the time. Every single person in that arena had ears that looked like mine. And it was fucking crazy to think about, because it's like, oh, I'm around 12,000 people that the majority of them are tougher than shit. And it was probably, me and Lappin were joking, it was probably the largest concentration of tough human beings to ever all get together at once. 12,000 people, all with gnarled ears that are fascinated by grappling. A couple of the highlights were the Rotolo Brothers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but if you're a jiu-jitsu person, they're worth checking out. These kids started training in a gi, I think, as soon as they could walk. One of them said in his post-fight interview, he's like, I've never remembered not having jiu-jitsu in my life. My earliest memories include jiu-jitsu. And he even said, he goes, since we were little tiny boys, we have had great technique, but now we're growing into men, and our bodies are capable of fighting men. And one of them won their weight division at 19 years old. And the other one had a phenomenal performance. At 19 years old, he beat Felipe Pena. And it's, again, we're seeing the next generation. You got those Rotolo brothers, they're twins that are 19. You have Mika Galvao, who's 18. And they're just chewing through competition. And it's because, when you start at 2 versus like I did starting at 22, it's a different thing. And we're seeing the fruits of those labors of people that put in the time from the time they could walk, now becoming of age and being on the mainstream at the main stage of the biggest events. And it's fucking cool to see. Me and Lappin had a great time down there. We were there with BioPro, and BioPro sent us down there to work the BioPro booth. And I think everybody knows I'm not a fucking salesman. I'm not going to be like, oh, hey, listen, welcome to the BioPro booth. If you buy 2, you get 1 free. And I told them that too. I said, if you want me to go and be at the booth, I'm not fucking selling anything, because that's not my energy. If I'm trying to put out salesman energy, I'm basically trying to be full of shit, and everybody sees through that. So I said, I'll go down there with you guys. I'll stand at the booth and I'll shoot the shit with people. If they want questions, if they have questions about BioPro, I'll give them my honest opinions. But, I'm not going to be not going to go work a booth and try and get this many sales. That's not me. And it ended up being exactly what I wanted. I just fucking hung out there for a while and people would come by and shoot the shit. And it was super fun, super good energy there. Everybody was like, everybody that was there, it just felt like no egos, no posturing. Everyone was just having fun, smiles, enjoying themselves. And that's the difference. That's the difference of jiu-jitsu versus MMA. MMA events, everywhere you go, it's like everyone's trying to fucking peacock and puff their chests. And it's bizarre, because it's like, dude, a lot of people in this group are fighters. So why are you trying to act like a tough guy? In jiu-jitsu events, everybody already knows, this arena's full of tough motherfuckers. And because it is, it's all good. Like we don't have to, nobody has to pretend to be something that they're not, because everybody there gets down. And it was fucking rad. Me and Lappin really enjoyed the weekend down there in Vegas, other than hating Vegas itself. I joke that I don't think I'll ever go back to Vegas because I hate the Strip. We went down to the Outback Steakhouse and got dropped off by an Uber, and to get picked up on the strip by a taxi or an Uber, it was like an hour process figuring out a pickup zone and then the lines. And it's like, nope, I'm fucking done with Vegas. And so we actually did a lot of walking. And it was funny. We were walking back to our hotel after dinner one night, and we were just talking about acts of service. And this is how the universe works. Me and Lappin were literally over dinner talking about acts of service, like random acts of kindness or helping people that are in some type of crisis, and not even a big crisis, just assisting people that need assistance. And, we were talking about how most people in society will avoid helping people that need help. They'll just drive right by, or they'll walk right by, instead of saying, "Oh, excuse me, sir, do you need a hand with that?" And we're falling short as a society. If you have a young lady changing a tire and you walk by and you don't say, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you need a hand with that?" Because that's what we're supposed to do as men. And if you think otherwise, man, you're out of touch with reality. I say it at my Jiu Jitsu Academy all the time. We take care of our women here. Everywhere else, they'll tell you that you're equal and that there's no difference and that we're the same. I say this to the kids class too, but that's a lie. And the truth is, in my facility, we take care of our women. We treat them a little different. We make sure that we don't allow them to get hurt or injured, or people bring too much aggression towards them. Like, our women are fucking precious and we take care of them. But another part of that is not just our women in our circles or our team, but just throughout society. If they need help and you just walk by, what does that say about you as a man? And so we literally had this conversation over dinner. We're walking back to the hotel and we see these 4 ladies in a parking lot with a car on a jack stand, or not a jack stand, on an actual jack. And the tire had already been changed. And so we're like, all right, they got the spare on there already, and the flat was pulled off. Whatever, no big deal. They don't need help anymore. And as we walk by, both of us are just like, but we literally just talked about this. And we turned and said, "Hey ladies, do you need a hand with anything, or you guys got it taken care of already?" And one of them goes, "No, we do need a hand. The jack broke and now it's stuck under there and we can't get it out." And we're like, okay, well, Lappin and I will each grab a section of the front of the car. On 3, we're going to hoist the car up, and then one of you guys pull that jack out real quick. And they're like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, let's go." And we grab their car and squat, and we lift it up. And it's funny too, because it's like, we lifted it up enough for her to pull the jack stand out. But did we fucking lift it in the air? No. You could feel like the suspension coming up. And then it was just enough to pull that jack stand out, and then dropped it back down. And we're like, all right, we got it. Have a good night, ladies. And as we're walking away, we heard a couple of them go, "Those guys are UFC fighters." And the reason I laugh at that is because we were called UFC fighters a handful of times this weekend. And guys, public service announcement: cauliflower ears do not equal UFC fighter. All right. You can get cauliflower ears as a white belt in jiu-jitsu. You can get cauliflower ears as a high school wrestler. Those things do not equate to being in the UFC. But in today's culture, people don't see it very often. And I guess when they see someone that is of an athletic build with cauliflower ears, UFC fighter. So yeah, we were joking that when that story gets told, it's going to be 2 UFC fighters came and lifted our car off the ground. But no, it's just, there's something special that comes with helping random people. It just makes you feel good, And when I miss opportunities to help people, it bothers me a little bit. And I think that's a good thing. If you're on I-5 and you're mobbing at 75 miles an hour and you blow past a car and you see like, oh fuck, there was a lady out there changing a tire. Sometimes it's more hazardous than it's worth to try and get back to her, right? And so just be of the mindset of service. And if you see someone that needs a hand with something, man, just take the time and ask. And there's plenty of times when people be like, "No, I'm good. I got it. Thank you though." And then you did your part. But take the time to check in. And just that little check-in is going to really add value to that person's life because it lets them know that other people care. The last thing I'll say on acts of service is if someone holds a door for you, fucking say thank you to them. It should be criminal to have a door held for you and then you just walk by with this smug look on your face like, yeah, you should do that for me. And it's fucking surprising how many people do that because I'm a door holder. And so now if I hold the door and someone doesn't say anything, I'll just very loudly and clearly be like, you're welcome, just to try and add a little awkwardness in. But yeah, so what else do we got? I did ADCC, super fun event. And then I went and did Cleared Hot with Andy Stump out there back in Kalispell. That episode actually dropped yesterday. And if you haven't heard that, go check that out. It's on his platform, Cleared Hot. And man, that was a super, super fun episode. Andy's one of those guys that I think I could just sit down and shoot the shit with for like 6 hours. We vibe with each other. We have a similar approach to life, although he thinks I'm a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, but I just mean in how we carry ourselves and how we like to interact. And I always enjoy going out there and doing that. Right before we recorded, we went and trained Jiu Jitsu together for, I think it was like an hour and a half. And man, he's a brown belt already. 4 years in and he's a brown belt. But I'll tell you guys this, for anyone that thinks that's too fast, go roll with him. And you'll realize, oh, okay, that's not fast at all because he has been able to become an absolute savage inside of those 4 years, which shouldn't necessarily be surprising, right? Because Andy comes from a background both in CrossFit and in the special operations to where when he puts his mind, or wingsuit flying too, right? Where he puts his mind to something and then he becomes exceptional at it. And so the fact that he's applied that to jiu-jitsu, it isn't surprising necessarily, but it's still fascinating because watching somebody go from no jiu-jitsu to that in 4 years, it's super impressive. I haven't been friends with him for the whole journey. Him and I became buddies in 2020. And I want to say he was a blue belt when I first met him. And then I rolled with him as purple belt, and now I rolled with him as brown belt. And being detached where I don't train with him very often and I'm on the outside looking in, man, it's nuts how fast he's getting good. And so I've already got messages. Oh, how'd the roll go? Tell us what happened. And I'll tell you what happened. Nothing. It was uneventful. If you were to have been watching it, you would have been bored because high level jiu-jitsu where you have the answer to the answer to the answer and both of you are implementing it, it's not super fun to the spectator because it appears that there's not a lot going on. But that's because a lot of what's going on is what I call invisible jiu-jitsu. It's weight distribution, it's movement patterns, it's timing, and you're trying to capitalize on the littlest things. And everything I tried to capitalize on, he had an answer to. And I would try and slow it down and pressure pass, and then I'd try and disengage and pick up the tempo and try and get like a faster paced Toreando pass. And he was very, very good at matching my energy to be able to prevent me from getting the pass. And guys, for those of you that are jiu-jitsu guys, I'm a good passer. And that's not me. That's coming from a place of humility. That's just the truth. I pass most people's guards, especially brown belts. I've been a black belt for 8 years now. And nope, not his guard. His guard is fantastic. And that's another thing that's impressive. Being a big, strong guy. I mean, I don't know what Andy weighs, but probably 220 or 215 or something. That's usually not a super dynamic guard build. And the fact that he's really honing that side of his game, very impressive. And so, yeah, we tied up and it was basically 7 minutes of neutrality. And then I had to go home and really think about what just transpired. And, but that's what makes it fascinating because it doesn't matter who you are or your shape or your size or your ability, man, the way you match up with someone is unknown until you lock horns. And then when you do, you got to see how it plays out and then you got to figure it out. And so, yeah, for those of you that are wondering, Not a super fun roll. I would say it was 0-0. No points, no advantages, and certainly not even close to any submissions. But it was cool going out there doing that episode. He showed me his, after we wrapped up the episode, he went and showed me Black Rifle Kalispell that he's building. Fascinating. And it's cool seeing guys that you know building their empire in real time. He walked me and gave me a tour of the facility, and he said they're looking for a grand opening date in February of 23. So I'll be out there for that. It's going to be an exciting thing to go out there and support him and see his dream starting to come to fruition. So then after that, which would take us to literally just last weekend, I had Mike Glover out here. Mike Glover has done the podcast before. He didn't get one in this time, so I'm sorry if those of you are looking forward to it. But I can tell you, me and Mike connected on a level that we hadn't connected on previously. We knew each other. We've met before, but a real genuine friendship was forged over this last weekend. He stayed the night at my house. We sat in my kitchen for hours and really just got to know each other, and it was fucking awesome. And for anyone that's wondering, Glover is the real deal. And when I say the real deal, I'm not saying, oh, some special operations badass. He is that indeed. We already know that. But I'm saying, like, man, just the genuine human being that he is. He is someone that I want to be around. He's someone that makes you want to be a better version of yourself. And he's super kind. He has just a good amount of humor and charisma, and he's just an overall good human being. And it was fun getting to connect with that side of him. The next morning we got up, we went to my new range that I built, and he ran his gunfighter pistol course out there. And I think we had 22 students. And it was really fun watching him in his element as an instructor. And I can tell you guys, the way that he teaches, and it's different than how a lot of people teach, right? Everybody kind of finds their own rhythm and their own groove, but it's really rooted in what he would say is the fundamentals that are going to serve you in a conflict, right? He's not looking to teach you to shoot groups the size of a dime. He's looking to have 5 or 6 hours with you, and at the end of those 5 or 6 hours, increase your ability to get rounds on target in a violent encounter. And right out of the gates, he said something that I really appreciated. He's like, hey guys, listen up. You know, for those of you who know me through the different social media platforms, I just want you to understand something up front. My background in special operations does not make me the subject matter expert that has all of the answers on all of the tactics. He goes, tactics are always evolving. Different people can bring up different perspectives that make sense. And he goes, you know what? If a 17-year-old kid comes here today and brings up something that I think is beneficial, well, fuck, maybe he's right. And he's like, and that's how I view the evolution of tactics and teaching. It's like, there is no right and wrong. It's a constant evolution. And I'm part of that. I have a lot of experience. I've been through a lot of real world scenarios where I've tried different things. I've seen what works and I've seen what's failed. But instead of me standing up here on a platform, acting like I'm hot shit and gonna impart all my knowledge on you guys, he goes, what Fieldcraft's mission is the people that I connect with, I consider peers. The reason I consider you guys peers and not students is because, man, preparedness and taking the necessary steps to make sure that our communities are safe and ready. We want that community to be connected, and we want those people in those communities to share information and actually develop relationships. It's important. And he said, so the mission of Fieldcraft isn't me, Mike Glover, show up and act like a drill sergeant. The mission of Fieldcraft is to allow people to attend our courses and then make our overall community stronger. He goes, I want you to leave here today with some of the tips and tricks that you've gained and show your community these. Show your family and your friends these things. Talk about these things. Have dialogues about these things. And then we all get better as a whole, as a result. That's the mission of Fieldcraft. And the thing is, it wasn't lip service. That's just not he wasn't just standing up there saying this because it sounded cool. That's in his heart. That's the truth. And that's what he believes. And it was really cool to see how he approaches training to where, man, every single person here is important. Every single person here is playing a role in making our community stronger. And he takes that extremely serious. Now, with all of that humility stuff taken or talked about up front, I can tell you, being a safety in the back, watching him teach, he's fucking good at what he does. He is extremely proficient in the tasks that he teaches. And one thing he did that I think is very important, and Greg Lappin, who is a phenomenal firearms instructor, does as well, is talk about the course of fire, then show the course of fire. What that does is it validates, hey, I'm not just saying that I think this is important. I'm going to say it. I'm going to tell you the whys. I'm going to show you the hows. And then I'm going to run through it myself. And that way it just validates that everything that I'm saying I think is important, I do too. And I'm going to allow you to watch me do it. And man, people like that. I think it's important. And, it was just super cool to watch him impart knowledge on people for, I think it was a 6-hour course. And everybody left there with a smile on their face and happy that they attended. And man, that's, in my opinion, that is that should be the measuring stick for success. Like, obviously, we want people to leave there with some new skill sets. We want them to be able to increase their capabilities. And it's the same thing at our Guns and Geese program. But at the end of the day, I also want them leaving feeling like, fuck yeah, I accomplished something. I feel good about myself. I feel empowered, because that's the energy that you need to have leaving those courses. If you leave a course feeling beat down or disgruntled or discouraged or fuck man, I couldn't get this fucking the shot group that I wanted to hold or whatever it is, right? No. You can be critical of yourself, obviously, but at the end of the day, you should be empowered. And if you're leaving a course not feeling empowered and feeling like charged up and full of energy, that says something about the instructor. And that's what I think separates the greats from just traditional instructors, because there are plenty of people that have the skill set to teach firearms, to teach grappling. There are plenty of people that understand the technical ability and could break it down for you by the numbers, right? But how many people have the technical ability, but then also have the right amount of charisma? They have energy that makes you want to be around them. They have, they interject just the right amount of humor to keep the crowd captivated. And, I'll tell you, both Lappin and Glover share a phenomenal amount of skill when it comes to blending those different aspects of teaching together to keep the audience captivated while simultaneously really teaching them something efficiently. And anytime you see a master of their craft doing their work, it's fascinating. And Glover and I talked afterwards, and he equally enjoyed the environment that we created out there. And I'm not going to give any details right now because it's very up in the air. We haven't nailed any dates down, or we haven't talked about specifics moving forward. But I can tell you that Fieldcraft and our Training Northwest Range in Granite Falls are going to be doing a lot of work together. And we're not only going to be doing work together on the firearm side of the house, but Mike really enjoyed the setting out there and the overall layout of the property, and was just brainstorming off the top of his head. It's like, man, we could do some like really cool trauma lanes here. We could do some winter like bug out courses, and just different basic preparedness courses on this piece of property. So stay in tune for that. When I know something, you guys will know something. But it's exciting because it's always cool to build partnerships and just be moving the needle forward. And I think that myself and Glover will be able to bring some exciting things into the Pacific Northwest here before too long. And not to circle back too much on the internet, but it's just bizarre how I spent a whole weekend with Mike. I saw him. I saw his true colors. His girl was out here with us. Her and my wife hit it off instantly. And you just know when you're around someone and you're in the presence of a good human being, you feel that energy and you know it. And then I'm scrolling through Instagram literally yesterday, and it's some CAG guy. Oh, he was in CAG. He must be a subject matter expert. Well, you might be very good at tactics, techniques, and procedures, but if you use your platform to talk shit on Glover, to me, what you're doing is you're really just showing your inadequacies, and you're putting your focus on somebody that's out there winning, and you're just saying, hey, I have the mindset of scarcity as opposed to the mindset of abundance. And I don't give a fuck what unit you were in. I know 100 dudes that served in the unit, and most of them are good, solid motherfuckers. But guess what? Just like everywhere, there's some shitbags that slip through the cracks. So just because you served in that unit doesn't make you some fucking god. And this dude was showing a video of Glover having what you call like a dead man's gun. You go up, you get on target, and instead of a bang, you get a click, right? Well, let me lay this as a preface. I don't know where that video came from. I don't know if it was part of training. I don't know. Maybe it was a induced malfunction that he did on purpose. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe he was teaching a course and did a mag change and didn't charge his gun, right? Like, oh my God, you didn't have a round in the chamber? Well, let's make a video of this. Let's post it on social media and let's talk shit about you publicly. And it's like, man, you're embarrassing yourself is what you're doing. Because I just spent the whole weekend with the guy. I watched him run 100 different drills. He's very, very fucking proficient, and he's very good at his job. But because you found somewhere, somehow, a video of him getting a click instead of a bang, you're going to piece together this video and talk a bunch of shit about him. And really, what people see when you do that is they see your own inadequacy. They see your own jealousy. And if you don't like how fucking Mike Glover teaches, then don't attend a Fieldcraft course and go do something else. And I hope it works out for you. But people are keying in on this mindset of scarcity as opposed to the mindset of abundance, and people are sick of it. They're sick of it. You know, I tell people all the time, like, the more jiu-jitsu, the better. Joe Rogan tells people all the time, the more people that are out there doing podcasts, the better. Because the more people that are sharing information, that are teaching, that are encouraging, that are building others up, the better. And that's what Glover does. That's what Fieldcraft does. That's what my podcast does. That's what my Jiu-Jitsu Academy does. Yet there will be people that take that as an opportunity to try and like tear you down and then stand on your shoulders and build themselves up. And if you're that person, man, go look in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I doing? Why am I allowing somebody else's mistake or mishap to be used as an opportunity to try and shine a spotlight on them and make them look worse? And here's the gross thing. The comments were filled with people talking shit. Just filled. And there was a part of me that was like, man, I want to defend his honor. But then I realized, I'm like, dude, defending his honor against a bunch of internet pussies is a waste of my time. Just like I said earlier, I don't comment on people that are trying to lower your vibration and just trying to overall detract from your mission. So scroll past it. We move on. And you know how we're going to move on? We're going to move on by bringing a bunch of badass Fieldcraft Survival courses to the Pacific Northwest. Great fucking weekend. And I couldn't have been happier with how everything played out. We had a lot of people that, or I shouldn't say a lot, but a handful of people that have been out to my range before. And then a lot of people that have never been out there. and meeting new people and interacting with the community, man, that's what it's all about. I had a lot of fun out there. And that is why we do what we do. At the end of the day, not everybody's going to be a gunfighter. Not everybody's going to be tip of the spear, kicking in doors. But if you build your community around people that want to better themselves in every little different aspect of life, what it's going to do is it's going to build a community of people that if we ever do need to rely on each other, we already have that network built. And it's super important. And guys, this isn't the world's going to shit and make sure everybody has their ham radios and their frequencies and all that. You can go down those rabbit holes, and I have to a certain extent, and I'm not saying don't, but I'm just saying the overall feeling of being around good people and seeing good people trying to better themselves and interjecting yourself to that community, just the vibration and the energy that you get, it lifts you up, man. And it's super important to put yourself into those positions sometimes. Last thing I'm going to say, pretty short episode, guys. We're just fucking going over some things that I wanted to put out. The new gym is being built as we speak. We're about halfway done. We're expanding by 3,000 square feet, and we're going to bring about, the mat space is going to increase in my academy by about 200%. The new mat is going to be 2 times the size of our current mat, but we're also keeping the current mat. So we're going to have a substantial amount of mat space. And with a substantial amount of mat space is going to make it possible to bring Guns and Geese to the Pacific Northwest next summer. Our Guns and Geese program has been a hit. We have done phenomenally well with that. We have changed fucking lives over the last 2 years. A lot of people that have attended have come with no background in shooting, no background in fighting, and they've developed a passion not only for those things, but a passion for wanting to be a better version of themselves. A passion to start eating clean foods, a passion to start waking up and putting in the work and start your day hydrated and with a cardiovascular workout and with good nutrition and with some reading, like all the little things that really start to make you perform at a higher level. And that wasn't our intent. I've talked about it on the show often. When we thought about bringing a shooting and grappling course to people, we foresaw it being something that was fun, something that was inspiring, and something that started people on the path to Jiu Jitsu. And while it is those things, man, it's touching people's lives beyond what we ever thought was possible. It's super fucking exciting to see, and it's powerful to know that, man, you can use your voice, or you can use your gym, or you can use the things that you created in this world, and you can build something that not only serves other people, but it also serves you too. Guns and Geese serves me emotionally. It serves me financially. It teaches me how to be a better version of myself in real time, along with the other people that are there that are learning that. It teaches me how to be a better leader, how to be a better instructor. And all the little aspects of the program that help me grow are simultaneously helping other people grow. And isn't that what it's all about? Like we're winning across the board. And so I wanted to put this out. I'm going to end with this. Our new program starts in March, which is class 007. And the new program is going to include everything that you need for training. Something that a reoccurring thing that we would hear is, hey, I'd love to attend, but I don't have a firearm. I've never shot before. I don't have a gun belt or gear, or like people are interested in learning about these things and developing some of these skill sets, but it's so far outside of anything that they've ever done that they don't have the necessary equipment to train. All right, we got it taken care of. We will now be providing everything that you need to train. You can show up with board shorts and flip-flops. You are going to get your Jiu Jitsu gi. You are going to get a Exumbris gun belt. You're going to get an Allegiance Kydex holster and magazine pouches. You are also going to be allowed to use one of our Glock 19s or 17s for the week. And obviously, when you leave, you get to keep everything minus the pistol. And you know what's funny is we actually initially thought about selling the pistol as part of the package. Obviously, that's an optional thing that we were thinking like, hey, you show up, you get all this gear issued to you, you use the gun for the week. If you like the gun, you can purchase the gun through us. But we hit some roadblocks with that because every state has different legislation on which guns are allowed and which guns are not allowed. And so instead of selling the exact firearm that you were using, what we decided to do, part of our partnership with Vortex, is we are going to give you guys options in your state to purchase that specific firearm with that specific Vortex optic on it if you enjoyed using that during the duration of the course. And I don't think I mentioned that. Each one of our Glocks are outfitted with a Vortex red dot sight. And the reality of red dot sights, they are the way of the future. And if you think they're not, you have not put enough time in on one. My pistol shooting has increased exponentially. It's increased to a level that I didn't even think was possible. But that's because new technology and new equipment comes with pushing the boundaries, and it comes with setting your personal bar that much higher. And here's the interesting thing, because this isn't just, oh, well, you're relying on a new piece of equipment. What they're finding with red dot sights is it helps you hone all of the fundamentals of marksmanship to a level that is much more crisp than you can do with iron sights. And that is because the red dot, any type of movement or pulling the trigger or pushing, anything that you do to the gun is exceptionally noticeable with a red dot sight, where it's not quite as prevalent with iron sights. And Lappin did some pretty comprehensive studies where he shot only red dot for a while and then went back to irons, and then only red dot for a while and then back to irons. And what he found is each section of time, and he did this with like specific courses of fire and data and numbers. What he found is each time he went back to iron sights after a portion of time on the red dot, his iron sight scores improved too. Well, that's fascinating, because now it's showing you, hey, it's not just working better for you because of the increased technology, but it's actually making you a better shooter overall. And so there's my red dot sight rabbit hole. But we're excited to have all of our guns outfitted with Vortex red dot sights. And, you know, for anybody that thinks that's strange or that's not the way of the future, I would just ask yourself, who's still running irons on their M4? Anyone? Like, that's laughable these days. Like, oh no, I don't run a UH1, or I don't run an EOTech. I run AR with irons. Nobody does that. That's going to be the way of the future with pistols too. That's the way we're headed, and that's as it should be, because, man, I'm telling you, 50-meter headshots all fucking day with an RDS. All right, so I want you guys to, if you've been kicking around the idea of Guns and Geese, go check it out. Class 007 has registration open live as we speak. All the classes sell out, so if you get in, you get in. If you don't, then we'll see you next time. But soon we are going to be announcing dates for the Pacific Northwest, and we're going to be running full Guns and Geese courses, and it's going to be fucking awesome. Super excited to bring that program up here and just expand our Guns and Geese group and get to meet a bunch of the West Coast people that have been wanting to attend this course and get the training in. So I appreciate you guys. Short episode. We're wrapping it up, and we'll be back next week with some fucking awesome guests as usual.